Dr. Dre, I'm looking at you right now. I'm looking at all of this. 4 studio albums, 5 collaborative albums, 3 compilation albums. Um, just elite on every level. You got 20 albums. I told you, you forgot how many albums you had.
Is it 20?
Yeah, 20. It's 20.
Shit.
52 years old?
Yeah, I'll be
All
53
right.
Sunday.
How old are you, my brother?
59. I'll be 60 years old in February.
Can I
60
say
years
this,
old.
Stephen A,
Go
on
ahead.
some sports shit?
Yeah.
And Dr. Dre ain't gonna know what I'm talking about. But to me, Dr. Dre is the Nick Saban of hip hop.
Nick Saban, 7-time champion, 6 championships at Alabama, universally recognized the greatest
Dynasty.
college football coach in the history.
And I
of the
say
game.
that because look at all of the NFL stars that he put through the league that are Hall of Famers. Just think about his
Right.
track record as far as production and the artists that he started. That's why I say he's the Nick Saban. He's got a great career for himself.
No question.
But what about the people he put on?
That's where I'm going with you next. What about those folks? When you reflect on who you've helped along the way, I'm sure you don't want to play favorites. I get that part. But
I know I'm his favorite.
but speak to it. What you believe, you know, when you hear and see the work of other folks. Snoop is somebody that obviously touches you in a very, very positive way. Anybody else out there? I'm imagining Eminem and others, but anybody else out there?
mean, you know, everybody that I've worked with, you know, has touched me and touched my career in a certain way. You know what I mean? It's like every artist that I put my body into has helped me and my family in a certain way. You know, so does any one of them stick out? Of course, Snoop does.
Right.
You know, this is my brother, but you know, we've got, you know, 50 and Eminem and Kendrick and Anderson .Paak. You know, I just love getting in the studio with people that I love to get down with. That's all it is to it. As corny or as generic as that may sound, that's just what I do.
What would y'all tell an artist today that, you know, you're an aspiring artist, you want to make it, you want to get in the room and put that work in?
Be original. Be original, because right now it's so much copycat, mimicking, sounding alike, imitation. Be original. Find your voice. Find your production sound. Find your ear for who you are, and be original. Even if it ain't hitting, stay you.
Find your collaborator. I don't like the fact that there's like 9 different producers on one album. I like the idea of one producer on one album. The continuity is everything.
Yeah, where did that come from? Where did it come from where you got cats that want to be with 9 different producers on one album and stuff like that? When the hell did that start?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know, but I don't like it. You know, if you're
It
a
ain't
producer, you should be able to produce the entire album. That's what I thought it was supposed to be.
Right.
That's what I was doing at the beginning.
There's a lot of beat makers though, Doc. That's what the difference between your era and this era is, that there aren't too many producers as much as there are beat makers. It's so easy to make beats. They're giving you all these computer package that has the drum loop, has this, y'all had to make the loop.
I feel like it's a change that's happening right now. You know, from all this mumble rap thing and everything that's happening right now, there's somebody in somebody's garage that's happening right now that's going to be the next Snoop or Dre or next Prince or Michael Jackson or whatever, that's coming up with something that's going to change the game. It's got to happen right now, and it's wide open, because everything that's happening right now in the music game is especially hip hop is weird as fuck.
I was getting ready to go there. Why do you feel that it has to happen now? What is it about now that's happening that there's a level of urgency that makes you say change for the better?
Well, it's going to get back to the musicianship. That's all it is, you know, like real players. And I'm seeing it happen. I'm watching. I'm on the internet and I'm watching Instagram and things like that. And there's like these kids that are coming up that can really play, and can really write and sing and really doing some interesting rapping and shit like that. So I'm waiting for that to come back.
When did it go awry? From the standpoint, I'm just talking about the industry itself in terms of people doing things in a manner that you might.
By the way, I'm not disrespecting anything that's happening
I know.
right now. I'm just talking about some substance that's getting ready to happen moving forward.
Okay, got you.
I think the fundamentals was taken out of it. Like, you had to have skill, you had to have professionalism in order to be an artist. Now you just have to have a phone. So it's a big difference. When you had to have certain things to be qualified as an artist, now it's just the phone makes you an artist, and something stupid or something crazy on the internet gets you 5 minutes of fame, and you take that and make a record, and you got a 2.5-minute song that's saying the same thing that somebody else just said. Now you consider it hot, as opposed to it used to be about creativity and understanding of musicianship, harmony, melodies. That don't even matter no more. It's just auto-tune. I want to sound like him. I want to say what she said, but I want to, do the same things, but just in my own way, as opposed to let me be original.
One of the things that I've always said is that when people get on artists, I've always come to the defense of artists, and I look at the industry itself. Because if you're trying to make it and somebody's over, and they're telling you this is what it's going to take in order for your music to be played, for you to develop and cultivate whatever your brand is, somebody is over you saying this is the way to go. And if you feel compelled, if you really want to make it, sometimes you got to listen to them. Well, that's how I felt.
We never made music for that reason, right. Doc. We never made music for the radio, right? We never was like, let's make a radio version. We always made music that felt good to us. Then when it got out to the public, if we had a label that had ideas of do a radio version and do this, but we never went into it with that intent.
Go ahead. I know you're gonna say something about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of shock hop. We just do what we feel in the moment, and that's what I've been doing from the beginning of my career. From NWA, Fuck the Police, and Straight Outta Compton and the whole nine. It's just like we're just doing what we feel.
You've been feeling from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. We just put it out there. And, at the beginning, we're like, fuck the radio. If they don't play it, it doesn't matter because we know what the streets is going to say. So, and that's still my mentality.
That's why you still winning. Revisit your emotions for me when you learned, A, you were not going to be one of the 12 selected on Team USA, and B, despite the fact that 3 of your teammates was on the team. 2 of them who spend 82 games a year deferring to you, and 1, obviously, Jason Tatum, who came here a year later, but this is the 3-time first-team All-NBA over the last 3 years. What was that like for you?
The emotions?
Yeah.
It was a lot, honestly. And a lot of the stuff that we just talked about, I feel like delineates into the same conversation. But I'll say this. In 2028, if I have to sign to Nike to increase my likelihood to play USA basketball, I'll pass.
Why?
1, I think that I think the essence, like you see it in our grassroots. Kids, instead of enjoying the essence of basketball, are like forced to pick a side. And I look at our global game, and Europe is closing the gap. I believe that we should focus more on our development of our youth and grassroots. And I think sports, I think shoe companies should have less control over the industry. Right now, and I was one of those kids. I was a top player, number 1. Actually, you came to one of my high school games. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I was a top player in high school, and and it was so much to deal with, Nike, Adidas, like going to an Adidas school, going to a Nike school. And the kids should just be focusing on development. And I think this has a direct correlation to what we see at the highest level, even in Olympic play. Like, politics is not synonymous with basketball. As my role as the vice president, I sit in these conversations with now who is Andre, who's our executive director.
Andre Iguodala.
And Adam Silver, who is the commissioner for the NBA, who goes back and forth about what we need and what's best for our game. So I know what corporate sponsors, what their what their pedigree is like. I know what the relationship is like. I know how those conversations go on. Anybody who thinks sports, politics are not cohesive.
They operate in sync with one another. Absolutely.
Yeah, you lying to yourself. So I'll say it again, because I know it'll be a quote in 2028. If I have to sign to Nike to increase my likelihood of playing USA basketball, I'll pass.
Why do you mention Nike?
Because they're the lead sponsor for the USA basketball team.
But I'm also asking you that question is because you were once with Nike, correct?
No.
You were never with Nike?
No, Adidas.
Okay, you were with Adidas, all right. And people thought you should go with Nike, and that was not something that ended up working out. What happened with that?
I mean, no need to get into the. I don't have a problem with the industry. Well, I do. I'm lying. I do.
Okay, I was going to say, go ahead, Jaylen.
I do.
All right, go ahead.
I think the industry definitely needs some new energy, some new creativity, and some new options. I think the way, the shoe companies go about issuing deals and illustrating people's value in terms of IP, in terms of creative control, in terms of like how involved you are in the process, I think it needs to change. I listen to the voices of our older generation. I know players that I can name, superstars, that would tell you right now, man, they frustrated as hell. Their stuff can't come out when they want it to come out. They have no input or control. They was forced to renegotiate certain percentages that they think they should have more value. And they wish it was other options. So, people like to use the word disruptor for me, and I really don't like it.
You don't like the word disruptive? For yourself?
It comes with the territory.
Okay.
But no, because everything that I've tried to be a part of, everything that I am a part of, my thought process has always been solution-based. Listening, being a rep, representing our 450, listening to what players are saying behind closed doors.
But some people would say solutions can be disruptive from time to time, depending on who you're dealing with.
Yes, no, you're correct. I just don't like to be called just like singularly a disruptor. I know it comes with it, but my thought process has always been solution-based, trying to create a solution for what I feel like in society, from an athlete perspective, is viewed as a problem. And that doesn't just stop at the shoe industry. The agency model, we can go more in detail. Yeah. Actually, I could talk to you all day about this stuff. We have a lot of meetings with the union, which I'm happy to be involved with. I've been since I was 21 years old. So I've been 7 years now that I've been participating in the development.
You turn 28 in a couple of days.
Yeah, man, it's my it's my last 2 years in my 20s.
Right, that's right.
That sounds terrible.
It ain't terrible.
Nah, I know, but I've been a part of it for 7 years, and I've learned, the ins and outs of the operational aspect of the league, the marketing approach. I learned about, how the decision-making process goes, who has responsibilities, who doesn't, and how, things are looked at and viewed. So, I think things need to change.
I'm going to read a quote that you gave. But
Yes,
before
sir.
I read the quote that you gave, you were responding to Nike founder Phil Knight. This is in 2022, who had criticized Kyrie Irving for his quote-unquote slow-motion non-apology after sharing an anti-Semitic documentary on social media. That's for Kyrie to discuss. We don't have to revisit that at all, because there's a lot of hits that he took during COVID, from myself included, that he did not deserve. So I want to make sure I'm on the record stating that, and he and I'll have a conversation at some point. But I remember when you were communicating about Nike in response to their reaction to Kyrie, and your exact words was, "Since when does Nike care about ethics?" Now, you've never been under Nike. Like you said, you were under Adidas. Things didn't work out, but you didn't hesitate to say what you said about them.
For sure.
A, why? And B, do you not see how that can alienate a lot of businesses from wanting to do business?
Absolutely.
With you and your willingness to speak out.
I think the ones who haven't been behaving ethically, for sure. I think the ones who do, I think it actually would attract them. But as a major corporation who's huge, has a lot of under their umbrella, that always hasn't maintained the ethical approach to, the decision making that they have, especially on the behalf of their signees. So being able to see that, because like a lot of the things you stand for are public, a lot of the things you represent are public, and the messaging that you put out is public. It don't take nothing but a bit of time to see what the company represents. And I think that is the part where I challenge them to do better.
All right, y'all, listen up. Do you know that the NFL playoffs are right around the corner and that we are smack in the middle of the NBA season? So with all that major action going on, the Stephen A. Smith Show wants to make sure you turn all your sports knowledge into some big-time cash. And that's why we've partnered with Prize Picks. You see, Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app where you pick 2 or more of your favorite players, and then you select more or less on their projected stats for the game. And get this, you can choose from any of the sports you love to watch: basketball, football, hockey, even MMA. So you can pick a football player's rushing yards, a basketball player's rebounds, and a fighter's total strikes. The list is endless. And get this, Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money, even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long with Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code SAS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app and use the code SAS to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Let me transition from CeeDee Lamb to your quarterback. And I'm going to be very delicate with what I'm asking because we all know what's going on with Dak Prescott, and there are things I'm smart enough to know that while a negotiation is taking place. You understand what I'm saying? Only a fool talks about their own negotiations while their negotiations are taking place. I would know that from personal experience right now. But I have to ask you, when you talk about looking ahead and looking to the future, how much of that thought process is applicable to your quarterback, considering what the quarterback market has dictated with everybody from Trevor Lawrence to Joe Burrow to Jordan Love? The list goes on and on. How much does that factor into your thinking, knowing what the market says it is about the most important position in football, which is the quarterback position?
Well, I'll tell you this. You've nailed it with your question and the ground that you have to cover. Dak is a long-term decision for the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. I think Dak, one of his unique things is that he's going to be able to, his makeup, what he is, his skill levels, mm-hmm. what he is as a person and a quarterback will age well as you look at quarterback age and viability. I think it will age well as he moves into the next 5 or 10 years of his life. I think he's the kind of quarterback that gets better and better. That we certainly know that time, oh Father Time, that it makes a big difference as we get older. But quarterback is a place that experience can manifest itself in wins. Also, the hard times, the mistakes that have been made, if you've got the right kind of makeup, that's a plus. You need rewarded for having gone through that because you, not Stephen A. I'm pointing to, I'm talking about Dak Prescott, you know how to use a hard time and turn it into an asset. He does that. It's one of his qualities.
What evidence is there of that, though, Jerry? Because I'm thinking about postseason. I know that he's been absolutely phenomenal in the regular season. He wins in September, October, November. In the month of December, I think his record is like 21-8. But then January comes, the record is 4-8. And last time I checked, when you started here, 36 years ago, it didn't take you long to get a first ring, then a second ring, and then a third ring inside of 4 years. And the Dallas Cowboys were loaded with a level of success that we still revere to this very day. At what point do you look at your quarterback and say, when you going to give it to me in January?
You're so good. You're so good. No, I mean it. And I appreciate it because you literally have gone through the steps of thinking that I've evolved, not just over the last weeks, months, but over the years. There is a case where you have to think that something's going to happen that hasn't happened yet. Otherwise, you're sitting right there with everybody else having measured the experience. Okay. In Dak's case, I look at his basic great qualities, and then I fundamentally see someone that is getting better. I think he got better with Mike, with coaching him directly as his offensive coordinator.
Okay.
I think he has improved since the day that he got here, if you really want to look at
So
that.
you think he was better last year with Mike McCarthy as both the head coach and the play caller than he was when Kellen Moore was here as the offensive coordinator?
Well,
is that fair?
Without diminishing or demeaning Kellen, he was definitely better last year.
Okay.
Definitely. And by the way, room to get better, room to grow. I think that's a fact. The other thing is that he's got last year in his heart and in his framework of reference. He's got that and the disappointments that went with it, some of the positive that went with it. He's got that to use this year. Physically, yes, I think he's getting better. I do want to recognize, though, that as you get older, then some of that is diminished. This is a position, though, that long-term experience can really pay off for you. Now, here's the way that I look at it completely is that when you look at what he brings to the table as opposed to the alternative, the alternative is not a one-year alternative, it's a several-year alternative.
Fair.
So when you look at the prospects of the likelihood of him over the next 5 years knocking on that door, I like those odds. And that to me is where you go. You pull the trigger on it. Now, it's very important that we have a way to reconcile this with Dak, because we've had the benefit of a lot of supporting cast with Dak over the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Yes.
Would you give us that?
Yes, I would, in a heartbeat.
Okay, so we've had a lot of supporting cast. There's no question that with Dak having been very well paid over the last 4 or 5 years.
$157.4 million over the last 4 years.
Over the last 4.
That's right.
There's no question that I got some of that off my credit card.
Okay.
In other words, I spent some money that I didn't have. Very common in the NFL. Matter of fact,
And
it's
common with you, because that's
practice.
what you did when you first bought the Cowboys.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It very much is. But you certainly, I'd like to say I did then too, but I had a passion that I wanted to get involved that I scratched then that I'm not scratching that passion as much right now. I'm trying to be real practical, at least in this explanation to you. But the facts are that not only have we had great supporting cast around Dak, we have also spent some of the money that we've got to spend on Dak in the future. That went in on his last contracts.
Right.
That's the way the cap works, and that's usually when you have a high-priced quarterback, what you do. So we have the challenge of not only recouping what we have spent on him over the last 4 years, we've got to add that to what we're going to be paying him for the future. Now, that's not Dak's problem only in that it's the Dallas Cowboys problem, because that money is not going to be there to spend on supporting cast. And so we've got to ask ourselves, can we have the kind of success that Dak deserves, we deserve, his teammates deserve, our fans deserve? Can we do that and get in the range to afford Dak? I think we can.
Dallas Wings forward Satou Sabally. She spoke in a post-game press conference about the struggle of seeing their home arena packed with Clark jerseys. Here's what Sabally had to say. Listen to this, quote, "Obviously, it's annoying because there were way too many Caitlin fans in our arena, but kudos. I feel like our Dallas fans could have done better. I had mixed feelings seeing all the Caitlin jerseys in our home, but it's an amazing sign for women's basketball." See, I have no problem with that, Nancy. That's perfectly fine. And then Chicago Sky's Angel Reese is also doing her thing. Talk about her record-setting season, record-setting rookie year as well. I mean, I want you to comment about Sabally first. And you heard what she had to say. I had no problem with her quote because she's acknowledging and appreciating Caitlin Clark, but in the same breath saying she wished their fans had better supported them. Well, maybe you got to win more, and maybe they will. But I still don't have a problem with her quote. What about you?
Well, first, let me just say this. Thank you for bringing that up and reading the quote. Satu is a very, very close friend of mine. I have been on the court practicing with her and Enrique in the off season. These are two of the most unbelievable, intelligent, hardworking players. She was first team all WNBA last year, played for Germany in the Olympics in Paris. And she's just telling the truth. She's saying, man, this is amazing what's happening. This is what I get from her, having known her, and saying, we want this. You know, I'm a great player. Enrique is unstoppable, as you saw. Natasha, Howard is one of those great veteran players. Okay, now you saw this. Now, Dallas Wings fans, we want you in the seats with our jerseys. And it's a communication. Communication is 360. You say something to your fans, and hopefully your fans respond. Dallas Wings fans are amazing, and they will respond, and they will show up and show out. And I applaud Satu for saying, look, I get it, but now I want it. And why shouldn't we want it in our own home arena? And that's just great communication, and that's why I love and admire her.
Indiana is outdrawing every other team by 35% at home and 36% on the road. Chicago's Angel Reese is second in the WNBA. Obviously, Angel Reese's Chicago Sky team is second in the WNBA with an average road attendance of 10,929. That's one stat. The other is, as of 1 week ago, 20 WNBA telecasters averaged 1 million viewers, shattering the previous record of 15 for a season. Caitlin Clark was featured in 17 of those 20 televised games. That's her impact. I know for a fact the Rookie of the Year race is over. Caitlin Clark is going to win that. But what do you have to say about Angel Reese and what she's meant to the WNBA game thus far this year as a rookie?
Well, I've watched Angel Reese at LSU. I mean, she's a problem. This woman she just broke the record. She has a motor like I have not seen before. And I know a lot of people, well, she's getting, her own rebounds. I mean, cut it out. Okay. She's not the biggest player on the court. She's not the fastest player on the court. She's tenacious. She is doing her job. And as she gains more experience in the league, and she was working on her 3-point shot in her off season, she's going to just continue to explode, get bigger, better, even more greater than she is right now. And I think people need to leave her alone and just appreciate her for who she is and how she has played this game. And just because somebody has a quiet disposition and somebody has a little bit more flair in their disposition doesn't make anybody wrong. I enjoy watching her. I love that she's being coached right now by Teresa Weatherspoon. I mean, Spoon was pounding her chest, right, in the Garden with the Liberty. You saw that for many, many years when she hit the half-court shot, against Houston, to push it to a Game 5, I believe. It's okay to have personality, and she has personality plus. She's gorgeous. She looks like a model. She just defies everything you want to say about her. So I think people, again, should stop pigeonholing people. Just wake up happy. Just for all the new fans, just love this game. For the older fans that have been waiting for this, just say thank you. This is what we've been waiting for, packed houses. We've been waiting for Stephen A to have us on our show and talk about us on the regular. We've been waiting for the media to recognize that we are skilled and people do want to see us and how you push for us. And thank you to all the men out there that every job I've ever had, I've been hired by a man. So thank you to you, Stephen A, for, caring so much in controversial and, quite frankly, in non-controversial moments. I've known you forever. You've always been there. You've never held anybody back. All you do is lift people up. We need that, by the way. We're not there yet, but we need that. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I really appreciate it. I love you to death. Very last question. Patrick Bet-David, Stephen A. Smith, people like us that have our platforms available to us, that reach millions of people, what can we do? moving forward to assist in helping to make the world a better place?
Man, I think you're doing it, and it's not easy, right? Because everybody has their own selfish reasons why we vote or we do what we do. Okay, I used to look at everybody and I would give them a score, and I would give myself a score, and I would wonder what's the right place to be. And I wrote about it in my latest book, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, the selfish index.
Mm-hmm.
So what is a selfish index?
By the way, your first 2 books, Your Next 5 Moves, Master the Art of Business Strategy, 2021, and Choose Your Enemies Wisely, Business Planning for the Audacious Few, just came out last year. So this is the 3rd book you're talking about.
No, this is the one, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, the one you're talking about. Okay. In that book, when I would talk to my sales leaders, sometimes my sales, like to kind of give this example that it makes sense. So one guy's like, I want to build a big agency and I want to do 10 million a year. I'm like, brother, every lead you ever get, you only want to keep it to yourself. You're selfish. But guess what? You're still a closer. So you're a 90-10 leader. 90% of all the decisions you make is about you. Then I had guys that every lead they ever got, they would give it to everybody. And that guy's a what? That guy's a 10% selfish, 90% selfless. And he didn't set a good example because you have to be hungry to go compete, right? So then eventually, the more and more I looked at everybody on who did well and who didn't do well, the more selfish leaders, 65%, always did better because they had bigger goals they were pursuing. But they had a balance of being selfish and selfless, right? In this position, you get paid, I get paid, there's money on the line. Everybody knows what's going on with where you're at right now with contracts. We all read about it. You know, there's a lot of money on the table for you. You've been busting your tail to get the payday. It's being able to openly speak and willing to have the debate with opposition and giving them the platform and let the audience think for themselves.
Yeah.
When you did your first 2 episodes, when you did your podcast, and you had Cuomo and Bill O'Reilly Hannity, and then Cuomo, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, freaking love it. What?
Yeah.
Seriously? Yeah. That's good. That's good because now I get to sit there and say, like right now, I'm watching your camera guys, right? Most of these guys are from New York. They probably don't agree with me politically. They're probably like disturbed sitting here right now. They're like, I just look at his face, how red it is. Like, there's no way in the world I agree with Pat. Look at his face. Look how red he is. That guy doesn't like me, right? But the fact that you're putting this conversation out there and they're going to have the conversation when they get in their Uber and they leave and they say, F this guy. They're already texting each other. Look at this, right? They're communicating. Mm-hmm. I've been around the block. I freaking love it. The fact that that thought is in their minds for them to talk shit to me and debate, we're making progress. I'm very comfortable with that. And you're doing that right now. You got a lot of people that hate you when you say stuff. How could you say what you said about Biden? How could you take a position like that?
O.J. Simpson.
Why would you ever say something like this? And guess what? Let the discussion begin. I'm in the business of making an appointment for the conversation, not in the business of being right. I think you're doing that. And that's why I call you the GOAT.
My man. What an honor and privilege to talk to you, my brother. I appreciate it, my man. The one and only Patrick Bet-David.
Thank you.
It was beautiful. We'll talk again soon.
I look forward to it.
As a matter of fact, I'm quite sure you'll be calling me in several weeks. That's it for the Stephen A. Smith Show, y'all. Talk to y'all next time. Later.